Hello again, and welcome to Broadcasting Scotland. It's Friday the 9th of September. I'm Andrew Wilson, and this is Scotland at 7. This evening, I have the latest daily updates from Ukraine on day 198 of the illegal Russian war of aggression, and then I will look at today's headlines from Scotland and around the world. Vladimir Zelensky said that Kyiv's forces had liberated dozens of settlements and reclaimed 1,000 square kilometres of territory in the east and the south since the 1st of September in the counter-offensive. The Ukrainian president also posted a video in which Ukrainian soldiers claim to have captured the eastern town of Balaklia, near Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv, Reuters has reported. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has told Volodymyr Zelensky the war with Russia is in a pivotal moment as Ukraine's military continues its counter-offensive in the south of the country. Blinken's surprise trip to Kyiv came after the US unveiled nearly $2.7 billion in new military support to Ukraine and other European countries threatened by Russia. Blinken had travelled in secret on his second trip to Kyiv since the Russian invasion began in February. Poland and the Baltic states have announced that they will temporarily restrict access for Russian citizens holding European Union visas. The measures are expected to come into force by the 19th of September and would restrict the entry into the Schengen area for Russian citizens travelling for tourism, culture, sport, and business purposes. Heavy fighting was reported on Thursday in areas near the Russian-held Zaporizhia nuclear power station in the south, after Ukraine warned it might have to shut down the plant to avoid a disaster, Reuters has also reported. Norway has said it would donate about 160 Hellfire missiles to Ukraine, as well as launching pads, guidance units, and night vision equipment. 2 people have been killed and 4 injured by Russian shelling in the Donetsk region amid massive shelling in Bakhmut, the Ukraine Prosecutor General's office has said. In Kharkiv's industrial district, authorities said 2 people had been killed and 5 injured in Russian shelling. The UK Ministry of Defence said Ukraine appeared to be imposing pressure on Russian forces in Kherson and had probably destroyed a bridge that served as one of the main routes between the northern and southern sectors of Russia's military presence along the Dnieper River. Ukraine's top military chief has claimed responsibility for an attack on Russia's Saki airbase in Crimea last month, the first official acknowledgement from Kyiv that it was behind the strike, which destroyed at least 9 Russian aircraft. The UK's permanent representative to the UN, Dame Barbara Woodward, has said the deportation of people from Ukraine has chilling echoes from European history, and that the appalling term denazification was a cover for obliterating Ukraine from the map. And Belarus has started week-long military exercises near the Polish border, its capital of Minsk, and the northeastern region of Vitebsk, the country's defence ministry has said. As the House of Commons and the House of Lords met to pay tribute to the late Queen Elizabeth, plans were being enacted to prepare Edinburgh for the Queen's coffin to arrive at Holyrood Palace before being taken in a ceremonial procession from the palace at the foot of the Royal Mile to St Giles Cathedral. On the 14th of September, members of the royal family will attend a vigil at St Giles, and the cathedral will then be opened for 24 hours to allow members of the public to pay their respects before the Queen's coffin is taken by train to London on Friday. Liz Truss has underlined her apparent intention to rip up recent economic policies by removing Sir Tom Scholar as the most senior civil servant in the Treasury, despite warnings that his experience could prove vital this winter. Before becoming Prime Minister, Truss railed repeatedly against what she called Treasury orthodoxy, notably the predictions that her plan to make large and unfunded cuts in taxes could raise inflation and increase interest rates. It is understood that Scholar, who worked closely with David Cameron and Gordon Brown before taking the top Treasury job in 2016, was told he would be going on Tuesday after Kwasi Kwarteng was appointed as Truss's Chancellor. The news was confirmed on Thursday with a brief announcement from the Treasury. It said the new Chancellor has asked the Cabinet Secretary to begin the recruitment process for a new permanent Secretary to the Treasury to succeed Tom Scholar. Beth Russell, the Director General of Tax and Welfare, and Kat Little, the Director General of Public Spending, will lead the department as acting permanent secretaries in the meantime. Scholar said that Kwarteng had decided it was time for new leadership. He wished the department all the best for the times ahead, adding that he would be cheering on from the sidelines. It appears likely that Kwarteng and Truss will be seeking a top official more amenable to their plan to try and increase economic growth by aggressively cutting taxes, with the intention that higher growth will then boost government coffers. This has prompted scepticism amongst economists, with the perception that a similar view might be held among officials in the Treasury. The departure of Scholar will leave Whitehall without a highly experienced voice who had worked with David Cameron as his principal advisor on the European Union. The 5-day hearing into the way the Home Secretary handled asylum and human rights claims for Rwanda cases and key aspects of the removals policy opened on Monday and concluded earlier today. When the former Home Secretary Priti Patel and Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta signed a deal to send asylum seekers to Rwanda on the 14th of April, there were limited details about how it would work. However, the High Court case challenging various aspects of the policy has revealed what went on behind the scenes thanks to the government's disclosure of a mass of internal documents. Although Sir James Eadie KC, representing the government, assured the court on Thursday that the scheme has specific safeguarding elements built into it, and there has been the most intensive investigation of that scheme imaginable, little emerged in the documents to give comfort to the critics. What the documents show, beginning with a diplomatic telegram from the British High Commissioner to Rwanda, dated the 18th of September 2020, are repeated concerns about the unsuitability of Rwanda as a destination country for asylum seekers. The High Commissioner expressed alarm about a lack of freedom of speech and the disappearance of opponents of the country's president, Paul Kagame. As the plans developed, the criticisms from government officials multiplied. Extrajudicial killings, the recruitment of refugees to conduct armed operations in neighbouring countries, including children aged between 15 and 17 to fight across Rwanda's border in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, a red traffic light rating in relation to human rights, and a clear recommendation made to the Director General at the Home Office on the 23rd of April 2021 not to pursue Rwanda as an option. Rwanda was not in the shortlist of 7 countries with which to further explore the plans. Indeed, it was on a separate list of 14 countries to not do a deal with. But from April 2021, the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson, along with Priti Patel, took an energetic interest in Rwanda, along with 2 other unnamed countries. On the 2nd of June 2021, Rwanda was not on a shortlist of 6 countries, but on the 27th of July, a stark warning about Rwanda was issued due to human rights concerns and reputational risk, but by the 28th of July, Rwanda had been prioritised. The UN Refugee Agency, the UNHCR, which has had a significant presence in Rwanda since the 1994 genocide, was not informed of the details of the deal until it was publicly announced on the 14th of April. Disclosures show the agency's opposition to offshore processing deals as burden shifting rather than responsibility sharing was well known by the government. It was decided not to brief UNHCR before the announcement because engagement with UNHCR gives them more time to organise their campaign against these measures when they are announced. When the UNHCR found out about the deal, it raised concerns about forcing refugees and asylum seekers to return to a country or territory where they are likely to face persecution. The UNHCR provided evidence that almost all LGBTQ+ asylum seekers had left Rwanda, and it identified a 100% refusal rate for Afghan, Syrian, and Yemeni cases. Evidence of torture also emerged, with disclosures stating that techniques like mock execution, asphyxiation, and electric shocks is routine and widespread in Rwanda. During the court hearing, Laura Dubinsky KC, acting for the UNHCR, issued a stark warning to the court that the agency did not consider Rwanda to be a safe third country to send asylum seekers to. Strikes by postal and rail workers have been cancelled after the death of Queen Elizabeth. Royal Mail workers were due to stage the second day of a 48-hour strike on Friday in a dispute over pay and conditions. Following the very sad news of the passing of the Queen, and out of respect for her service to the country and her family, the union has decided to call off tomorrow's planned strike action, said Dave Ward, the General Secretary of the Communication Workers Union, which represents Royal Mail workers. Strike action in the UK by about 40,000 workers at Network Rail and 14 train operating companies planned for the 15th of September and the 17th of September has also been suspended by the National Union of Rail, Maritime and Transport Workers, the RMT. RMT joins the whole nation in paying its respects to Queen Elizabeth, said Mick Lynch, the General Secretary of the RMT. The planned railway strike action on 15 and 17 September is suspended. We express our deepest condolences to her family, friends and the country. ASLEF, the train drivers' union, has also postponed a strike planned for the 15th September. The Rail Delivery Group, which said that train timetables would now run normally across the 4-day period the strikes were expected to affect, welcomed the decision to call off the strikes at a time of national mourning. The TSSA rail union also cancelled planned industrial action for the 26th of September and said it would be respecting the period of public mourning. Ginny Thomas, the self-styled culture warrior and extreme right-wing activist, has links to more than half of the anti-abortion groups and individuals who lobbied her husband Clarence Thomas and his fellow US Supreme Court justices ahead of their historic decision to eradicate a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy. A new analysis of the written legal arguments, or amicus briefs, used to lobby the justices as they deliberated over abortion underlines the extent to which Clarence Thomas's wife was intertwined with this vast pressure campaign. The survey found that 51% of the parties who filed amicus briefs calling for an end to federal abortion rights have political connections to Ginny Thomas, raising concerns about a possible conflict of interest at the very highest levels of the US judiciary. The 6-3 right-wing majority of the court, supercharged by Donald Trump's 3 appointed conservative justices, in June overthrew the constitutional right to an abortion. Clarence Thomas was among the 6 who voted for the hotly contested ruling Dobbs against Jackson. The ruling was one of the most consequential in the Supreme Court's 233-year history. It has triggered the lightning spread of partial or total abortion bans across Republican-controlled states, affecting almost 1 in 3 women aged between 15 and 44. The Dobbs case, brought by Mississippi, which sought to ban abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, attracted an almost unprecedented 130 amicus briefs from both sides of the legal arguments. Of those, 74 were filed in favour of overturning the right to an abortion, enshrined in the 1973 decision in Roe against Wade. In turn, the new analysis shows that 38 of the 74 anti-abortion amicus briefs, 51%, were produced by entities and individuals with links to Ginny Thomas. They included right-wing groups, religious interests, prominent conservative individuals, and lawyers. Thomas has been dubbed a radical insurrectionist for her role in backing Trump's attempt to subvert the 2020 presidential election. Yet her husband has refused to recuse himself from cases relating to the insurrection, including one in January in which he became the only justice to dissent in an 8-1 decision over allowing hundreds of documents held by the National Archives to be reviewed by the House Committee investigating the 6th of January storming of the US Capitol. 5 weeks after that decision, it was revealed that leading up to January the 6th, Ginny Thomas exchanged 29 text messages with Trump's White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, urging him to block Joe Biden's victory. It is very possible that those text messages were among the documents that the committee had been seeking, with Clarence Thomas, the sole justice, opposing disclosure. The January 6 committee has said it wants to interview Ginny Thomas over her anti-democratic antics around the 2020 election. Last week, the Washington Post revealed that she sought to apply pressure on lawmakers in Wisconsin to block Biden's win, having previously sought to do the same in Arizona. 2 women have been condemned to death in Iran because of their links to the LGBTQ+ community on social media, human rights groups have reported. Zara Siddiqui Hamadani, 31, and Elham Choudbar, 24, were found guilty of a number of charges by a court in Urmia in the Iranian province of West Azerbaijan on the 1st of September, but the details of their sentences only emerged this week. According to Hango, a Kurdish human rights group, Siddiqui Hamadani and Choudbar were found guilty of corruption on earth for promoting homosexuality, promoting Christianity, and communicating with the media opposing the Islamic Republic. They were also found guilty of sex trafficking, a charge that human rights activists say is a fabrication. Homosexuality is illegal in Iran and punishable by death under the Sharia penal code. Siddiqui Hamadani was arrested in Iran in October 2021 as she was trying to cross the border into Turkey, where she was hoping to claim asylum. In May that year, she appeared in a documentary for the BBC Persian service, speaking about the abuse faced by the LGBTQ+ community in the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region of Iraq, where she was living at the time. After the documentary was aired in May, Siddiqui Hamadani was detained for 21 days by Asayish, the intelligence and security agency of the Kurdistan regional government. She was subjected to torture, including beatings, electric shocks, and prolonged solitary confinement, Amnesty International has reported. Before she attempted to cross the border between Iran and Turkey, Siddiqui Hamadani sent a video message to Sixrang, an Iranian lesbian network based in Germany, to be published in case of her arrest. I may be arrested at any moment because they have all the information about me. My life is in real danger, said a visibly distressed Siddiqui Hamadani. If I don't arrive in Turkey, it is clear what has happened. Shadi Amin from Sixrang said they, meaning Siddiqui Hamadan and Choudbar, heard the sentence last week. Since then, Zahra has not slept. She is angry. Without international support, we have no hope, Shadi Amin added. Soma Rostami from Hengal said that Siddiqui Hamadani and Choudbar had been denied access to a lawyer. Rostami added that Siddiqui Hamadani's Kurdish ethnicity might have contributed to the harsh sentence she has received. The US Justice Department has demanded that a federal judge restore its access to documents seized from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort that carried classification markings, saying that if not, it will appeal to a higher court. The demands came in a 3-page notice of appeal filed by the Justice Department on Thursday in the case involving Trump's request for a so-called special master, and paves the way for the government to submit a detailed appeals brief to the US Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. But the Justice Department indicated in a motion for a stay that it would not appeal the decision if the order for a special master to review classified materials that stopped the investigation into Trump's unauthorized retention of government secrets was reversed. These filings amount to a forceful if clever response against the decision by the Trump-appointed judge to give unusually deferential treatment to Trump on account of his status as the ex-president. The Justice Department focused on the classified documents in its motion to stay the order, barring it from reviewing the seized materials, arguing that Trump did not have the possessory interest for the records, the key legal standard at issue, and were themselves the subject of the investigation. Even if Trump attempted to make an executive privilege argument to set aside the classified documents from the evidence cache, the government argued he could not say that he had possessory interest for classified documents that belonged to the state. The FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago around 11,000 documents and 48 empty folders with classified markings. The risk assessment into the empty folders, for instance, was to be completed by the FBI, but Cannon's order threw that review into limbo, the Justice Department said. Additionally, barring the FBI from using the classified documents could impede efforts to identify the existence of any additional classified records that are not being properly stored, the prosecutors wrote. This is the first suggestion that more classified material might be unaccounted for. The Justice Department also reiterated that they had already sorted through the seized materials using their own so-called filter team to separate around 520 pages of documents potentially covered by attorney-client privilege. Also in the US, the Democrats are trying to defy history in November. Since 1932, there have only been two midterm elections, that's in 1998 and 2002, when the President's Party gained seats in the House of Representatives. Democrats hope that the pattern will be broken for a third time. While the midterms are generally viewed as a referendum on the sitting president and his party, President Biden and other Democratic leaders have instead sought to reframe the upcoming elections as a test of American democracy by persuading Americans to view the elections as a choice between extremists threatening their fundamental rights and candidates who are seeking to protect those vulnerable freedoms. If the strategy succeeds, the party could maintain their congressional majorities with a history-defying result. President Biden has repeatedly hammered the theme of Republican extremism in recent weeks as the president has turned more of his attention to the midterm elections. In the past month, the president has compared Donald Trump's Make America Great Again philosophy to semi-fascism, and he has warned that the former president and his allies represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. On Thursday night, President Biden continued his attacks on extreme MAGA Republicans when he spoke at the Democratic National Committee's summer meeting in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Mr. Biden said, "We're in a serious moment in this nation's history," adding, "That's why those who love this country, Democrats, independents, and mainstream Republicans, have to be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than the MAGA Republicans are to literally destroying American democracy. You just have to vote." Democratic organizers have similarly embraced issues like voting rights and the protection of America's system of government as they enter the final stretch of the campaign season before the November elections. They argue that a pro-democracy message can help to mobilize voters and carry their candidates across the finish line, despite the significant headwinds that the party faces. President Biden's pro-democracy messaging appears to be resonating with voters. According to a Reuters Ipsos poll taken this week, 58% of Americans believe Trump's Make America Great Again movement is threatening the country's democratic foundations. Fear over the fate of American democracy also appears to be weighing on voters' minds more, which could negatively impact Republicans' midterm prospects. One NBC News poll taken last month found that voters now name threats to democracy as the most important issue facing the country, outranking cost of living and jobs in the economy. Biden has similarly sought to directly tie attacks on democracy to threats on other rights, including abortion access. In the wake of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe against Wade, ending federal protections for abortion access, Democrats have framed the midterm elections as a vital fight for fair health care. "I want to be crystal clear about what's at stake on the ballot. Your right to choose is on the ballot," Mr. Biden said last night. "Your right to vote. Even our democracy is on the ballot. Are you ready to fight for these things?" And that's all that we have time for this evening. In making these programmes, Broadcasting Scotland relies on the support of viewers and others who value our distinctive approach to news, current affairs, and culture. Please help us to continue to make these programmes. Our programmes will always be free to view. However, if you can afford £5 a month, please consider becoming a Broadcasting Scotland supporter. We have set ourselves a target of adding 10,000 new subscribers, which will enable us to employ staff to make more programmes. To everyone who has donated, and to everyone who has signed up to make a regular monthly payment, thank you very much. There are other ways in which you can contribute to our work. If you would like to volunteer to work with Broadcasting Scotland, then please visit our website at www.broadcastingscotland.scot and send us a message there. You can also find us on Twitter at BroadcastScot. Please like and retweet us there. And you can also find us on Facebook by searching for Broadcasting Scotland. When you're watching us on YouTube, it would be great if you would like and subscribe to Broadcasting Scotland on that platform. Meantime, we will be here again at 12 noon on Sunday with the next edition of the Full Scottish, so please tune in and join us then. I'm reminded that on this day in 1543, Mary was crowned the Queen of Scots at Stirling Castle at the age of 9 months. I'd like to thank everyone who's been watching this evening. I hope that you have a very peaceful evening. Bye-bye.